Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. Welcome back to another live show. Now this show is Epic Drone Show, so if you're watching this at approximately 1:32 p.m. New York City time, then this is a live show. So anything that you type, I have the opportunity to see in real time. Obviously, after this live show concludes, it will then become a previously recorded video that you can watch on epicdroneshow.com. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in here. Obviously, this has been a very exciting past few weeks with the Mavic Mini that I have right here in my paws. This Mavic Mini is super small, super lightweight as it sits, and obviously I'm going to remove the gimbal camera guard. 249 gram drone. So, you know, obviously check with your local government, make sure you're in compliance, but there may be, and again may be some countries where you may be able to fly this as a toy because it's 249, well, I shouldn't say a toy, but it may be able to be flown as an aircraft that may not have to be registered. But again, check with your local government. What makes this thing so cool is that, well, there's so many things that make it cool. And if you haven't checked out my Mavic Mini field test videos, check them out. But this video I wanted to put together because I wanted to have the opportunity to answer y'all's questions in real time. And if there's something I haven't tested in the field yet, which I know I've only performed a few flights because I've got one battery right now. I've got the other battery on the way. But just a really impressive drone so far. Let's see here. We got a bunch of people tuning in. Jim, welcome aboard. Saw you tune in there. We got a bunch of other people. Again, feel free to type your comments, and I can see and respond in real time. This battery that comes with, let's see, 2400 milliamp. Now, what's cool, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a teaser. This is coming in a video very soon, but something I'm going to do. Adam, welcome aboard. Long-time subscriber. Greatly appreciated. The ability to recharge the Mavic Mini by way of USB is really cool. So it's got a little micro USB port on the back. And why that's so important, again, this battery, the Mavic Mini battery, is 2400 milliamp. I've got a 20,000 milliamp battery that's super small, super lightweight, but it's a battery bank, and it's got 2 USB ports on it, and it's even got a solar panel. So talking about for off-the-grid drone recharging scenarios, that's going to make it super convenient. You know, and it may be a situation where I may just take one battery with my Mavic Mini, even though I've got another battery coming. I may just carry one battery plus solar battery bank to keep the travel size and the travel weight down while backpacking and that sort of stuff. Now, obviously, if I need more professional video, I'm going to go with a slightly larger but, you know, much greater performance Mavic 2 Pro with the 4K 30. Obviously, this one tops out, the Mavic Mini tops out at 2.7K, but as you've seen in some of my first field test videos, and as you'll see in videos that I'm working to produce now, this 2.7K video is not a laggard. Now, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's see. Jim says, I have a Mavic 2 Zoom. Should I buy a Mavic Mini or smart controller for my Mavic 2 Zoom? That's a great question. Obviously, whatever you choose to buy, I'll preface it because I am an independent YouTuber. Just go to epicdroneshow.com or check the links within this video's description. That helps to help me out. My advice is that if you've got a Mavic 2 Zoom, obviously that camera and that drone is a higher end drone than the Mavic Mini. But if you just want to play with something new and cool, or maybe you want something super small and super lightweight, something that's so portable that you could carry this when, I mean, the Mavic 2 Zoom is very portable as well, but if you wanted something even more portable, you know, you may want to pick one of these up. But if portability is not of concern for you, I would say go with the smart controller. The smart controller is really nice. Actually, I found myself when I was field testing my Mavic Mini that I have right here, I found myself, missing the smart controller, because the smart controller, it's nice not having, and again, it's not an issue, but this controller right here, the Mavic Mini's controller, like probably very similar to the controller you have for your Mavic 2 Zoom, it's less than optimal to have to go in and stick your phone in and connect it. Now, fortunately, and one thing I did, I got the little thumbsticks in there. That's why I can't stick it in all the way. I found this case right here for my iPhone. I've just got the iPhone XR because it had the better battery life. It was a cheaper iPhone, less expensive iPhone, I guess I should say. But this little cheap case that I got online, and I can send y'all a link to it if you want it, but if you want to find a link to where to order it. But this little case is great because it's slim enough to where I can put my iPhone XR, my Mavic Mini's controller, without having to take the phone out of the case. That was one thing I hated, pre-smart controller days, is that, often I would have to take my iPhone out of the case. Then you've got the problem that's introduced of having a naked iPhone. If you drop your iPhone while you're trying to insert it or remove it from your, whatever controller, Mavic Pro, Mavic 2, Mavic Mini, then, you've potentially damaged a very expensive phone. So I like that I found a case for my iPhone that'll fit in here without requiring me to take my iPhone out of the case. So in your scenario, unless you want the enhanced portability, or maybe you just want a second drone, a drone that you can have fun with and you don't have as many dollars flying in the sky, a less expensive price point, the Mavic Mini. So, that's completely up to you. I don't want to steer you one way or the other. I'll just, I'll give you my advice. But whatever you do, consider going to epicdroneshow.com and order through there, because that's what helps to support my independent YouTube channel. Brent says, good afternoon, Brent. Got a lot of people coming in here. Adam says, hi. So, yeah, I mean, have y'all encountered any issues with your Mavic Mini yet? Have you picked up a Mavic Mini? I will tell you the issues that I've encountered with mine. The only thing I did, I think it was my first field flight, my first field test, or my second field test. I can't remember which, but I did lose signal briefly. No problem. It started to return home, and I was able to, obviously when it was back to where it was functioning again, I could manually control it again. So that was a non-issue. The camera on this, obviously, as previously mentioned multiple times, does not do 4K. The camera on the Mavic Mini tops out at 2.7K. It's not a 1-inch sensor like you get with the Mavic 2 Pro Hasselblad. And if you're not a big camera nerd, you may not know what the sensor size means. Basically, a 1-inch sensor camera at a high level, one of its strengths is being able to have better low light performance. You're going to see better overall color, better overall video quality from a 1-inch sensor camera. So, the fact that this is not a 1-inch sensor and that it's not 4K, yeah, you're not going to get video as good as a Mavic 2 Pro. But with that being said, and if y'all have watched my channel for a while, I'm a huge 4K video guy. This still works within my 4K video projects, and I've got a lot more I'm working on today. Actually, I've been in the field with this Mavic Mini a few hours this morning, and I've got some videos now that are processing, and I'm going to be uploading to YouTube this afternoon. So it works really well embedded. When I create a 4K video project, it works well when I mix it with that 4K. Adam says, is there a new editing suite for this drone? Is it any good? I use the exact same editing workflow for the Mavic Mini that I use for all of my previous drones, and that's Final Cut Pro. And something I'm going to do within an upcoming video, since this is a new challenge, getting 2.7K video to look acceptable within a 4K video project, I'm going to create a tutorial, and actually I need to set a reminder. I set reminders for all of these videos so I don't forget to do them. And that's, I'm constantly thinking of new video ideas. And this video is going to be entitled Final Cut Pro Mavic Mini Editing. I may change that title up a little bit. editing workflow. And basically what this video will address is, how do I tweak my existing drone video workflow? Because I've been doing, I've been editing drone videos in Final Cut Pro 10 for a long time, and using 4K. This is slightly different because, again, it's 2.7. It tops out at 2.7K. And, so what are the steps that I perform when I'm using footage from Mavic Mini versus my Mavic 2 Pro? What's different within Final Cut Pro 10? And there's been a few things I've noticed, and I'll address this within upcoming videos as well, is the color. Obviously, the color color saturation right out of the Mavic Mini's camera is different than the color saturation right out of the Mavic 2 Pro's camera. So there's some tweaks that I perform in post-production within Final Cut Pro 10 to bump up the colors of the Mavic Mini's 2.7K video, which is still not as good as Mavic 2 Pro, but it's still really, really good. This has actually impressed me. I was expecting to be deeply disappointed when I heard that Mavic Mini topped out at 2.7K. I'm 4K guy, and that just wasn't acceptable. But I've been extremely satisfied at how usable this 2.7K video is. Brent says, just watch the video. He kept getting a sensor error and loss of signal that would trigger a return to home. Interesting. I haven't run into that. I'd be curious to see if they have the latest, if they were running the latest firmware. Addiction says, cannot get clearance to fly at a friend to fly even with the Kitty Hawk app. Adam says, will this be the best-selling drone of all time? I think the best-selling drone of all time was probably the Phantom, or maybe even the Phantom 2, because people, when the Phantom came out, it was such a new concept that a lot of people were afraid, even if they had the money, a lot of people were afraid to throw that kind of money at a hobby that potentially could go up the first time and crash, and then they lose whatever, hundreds of dollars. So I would think maybe the Phantom 2 may have been the best seller just because, or maybe the Phantom 1 after the Phantom 2 came out and the prices dropped to the Phantom 1. I don't know. I don't necessarily think the Mavic Mini, I do think it does have the opportunity to become the best-selling drone of all time. The reason being the price point is very palatable, but even at that price point, you're getting a very rich set of features, and you're getting just a very well-made, like we've grown to expect from DJI, a very well-made drone. Now, obviously, this one, if you've owned and or handled previous drone models immediately out of the box, you're going to notice that this is a lot lighter, it's a lot smaller, and then that's also true for the controller. The controller feels a lot lighter and smaller. After using this for several days now, I don't notice it as much. But, out of the box immediately, after using Mavic 2 Pro extensively, it was immediately apparent that both of these were lighter. And that doesn't mean they're cheap. It just means that, we've grown as drone hobbyists, we've grown accustomed to the exceptional build quality of the the Mavic 2 and the Phantom line, and we've probably become a little bit spoiled. We've started to expect that the build quality would be the same. Now, obviously, the build quality on this is exceptional, but the big thing driving this drone was the ability for DJI to release a drone that would fall under that 250-gram weight. And obviously, that weight is, and again, check your local government with your local government in your country. But that weight is something that may, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not any form of authority, but check with your government. But that weight limit may enable someone to fly a drone without having to register it. Again, may. So check with your local government. So that's why the build quality of this seems a little less than say a Mavic 2 or a Phantom, is because they've done everything. An example of that, for example, in the back, where the micro SD slot and the micro USB slots are, there's no rubber or plastic cover. That's just another area where they reduced weight. The door on the back of the that holds the battery in, it's very small, very lightweight. the battery itself is very lightweight. So and obviously the propellers on the bottom of the landing gear here, you don't have the little rubberized feet. I mean, any area where they could reduce weight but still retain that exceptional build quality that we've grown accustomed to with DJI drones, they've done. Handling this drone, I've tried to find something where I could say, well, where could they have reduced more weight? And it's really hard to see. So, inspect your Mavic Mini and see if you can identify areas where they could have reduced even more weight. I got a bunch of comments coming in. Let's see. Adam says, I know it's early, but what is next? All future drones less than 249 grams. I definitely don't think so. I think this was just, it's kind of like, they said, like, we're going to be the first man on the moon. And they put again, to be disputed, but supposedly somebody landed on the moon. And it's kind of one of those deals, kind of like the space race. DJI's got their little race, and they're like, we're going to be the first real capable drone, highly capable drone, to fall underneath 250 grams. So, that's what was driving them, I think. Let's see here. And Jamie says, have you tested the Mavic Mini in high winds? Would you risk it? Oh, I'll definitely risk it in a safe and responsible location. But I will say, unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to have high winds. I've flown it in about 7 or 8 miles per hour, which definitely is not a strong wind. But it performed exceptionally well. But I would really love for some strong winds to come and take this thing out in a safe and responsible location and see if it can stay airborne. That would be a really cool test. Brad says a new all-tail drone rumored. I want somebody to come up and compete with DJI, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do y'all think? What do y'all think about the all-tail Evo now? Is it even on people's radar? I mean, I'm not trying to bash the product. I'm just curious. And I know there's that other drone coming out, the Skydio or Skydio 2 or whatever. What do y'all think about that? I mean, is there a reason why a big player like GoPro entered the drone game and failed? And is there a reason why other big names haven't stepped up to the plate and tried to compete with DJI? I mean, they need competition. Why doesn't Apple do it? Wouldn't that be cool? Get somebody like that Johnny Ive guy to come out and design a drone and say, it's the best drone ever. And then they start re-releasing it like the iPhones, like twice a year. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, Adam, Skydio is some sort of, I think it's a crowd-funded drone. Addiction says, let's see. Addiction says, any problems with flight restrictions around the St. Thomas area? Wanting to bring mine down in March would be to do. And again, I'm not any sort of authority. Check with the local government. Understand where you're flying the drone. Is it permissible? Check with the local authorities. But, I will say there is a big airport on St. Thomas. So you've got to be aware of where you are. You've got to be aware of what the current regulations are. There are very, I don't know. Check with the local government, but there are some places, at least at one point in time, where, they weren't in restricted areas. So, do your own due diligence, and again, if in doubt, do not fly. That's my best recommendation. And again, check with the government. I have no authority whatsoever. Brad says, excited to get my Skydio in the next 2 weeks. Brad says, why do you think the Skydio is crowdfunded? They're selling the drones versus trying to raise dollars prior to. Well, there's been a lot of crowdfunded projects, and I don't know if y'all remember the Lily, Lily camera that was canceled, and then I think it came back it was like a different product, and it was a big mess. Crowdfunding is something that should enable developers of whatever type of product, in this case a drone, to have the, to be seeded with a bunch of cash to develop, to pay their developers to, or research and development, R&D, whatever you want to call it. In theory, that's how crowdfunding is supposed to work. But, a lot of times, unfortunately, and I'm not saying that's the case with the product you just mentioned, the Skydio, But a lot of times, people will use crowdfunding as a way to keep testing and testing and testing, and things may not exactly materialize like they expected it to. So a few things often happen with crowdfunding. All of this money is collected. It is often spent in a way that they stated that it would be, but the product that they had on paper, their vision, never materializes. So for that reason, you know, and I have a lot of respect for people willing to go out on a limb and try to make an idea a reality and collect cash any way they can, whether it be crowdfunding or angel investors or whatever. But the sad reality is that a lot of those things never materialize. And if they do, they materialize in a less than satisfactory fashion. So what on paper may be the perfect drone, once it's in your hands, it may be a lot less. And even if it's the same once it's in your hands as what was on paper, is it going to continue to exist? Will they have the distribution channels to get you extra batteries, to get you extra propellers? You know, what if your drone needs repairs? There's all of these uncertainties. So, you know, anytime where there's a product that's being sold through crowdfunding, I mean, so it can be a good thing. And I'm not trying to give crowdfunding a you know, put it in the paint it in the negative light here, but the reality is that it's a gamble. Whereas if I'm buying a new DJI drone like the Mavic Mini, I already have a high degree of confidence that the product delivered is going to be quality. Have a high degree of confidence that, you know, once the initial hype dies down, that I'll probably be able to get all the accessories that I need for it, extra batteries, extra props. With a crowdfunded product, I don't have those warm and fuzzies. So, again, it's I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But you know, I'm not part of that adventure. You know, again, if somebody watching this is linked to Skydio and you want to send me a free review kit, that is a drone that I would be willing to review, provide an honest review if you wanted to ship me the drone. But you know, it's very rare that I say that I would accept a review kit for a drone, because that's not the way I like to do things. Because often I think that, you know, even if you promise to provide a fair and honest review, the fact that someone provides a free review kit can often skew a reviewer's opinion. It can't skew my opinion. You know, if somebody like Skydio ships me a drone to review, I'll review it. I'll be honest, whether it's good, bad, or a combination of both. I don't care. You know, I'm independent YouTuber. I say it like I see it, and I don't have anything to sugarcoat. So anyway, enough about Skydio. Adam says, were you hesitant about buying the Mini? Were you going to skip it? Well, it being a drone and being so small and so lightweight, there's no way that I could watch this drone from the sidelines. There have been some drones that I have. What was it? The Phantom, was it Phantom 4 Obsidian, and was it the Mavic Pro Platinum? Whatever, those drones that were kind of interim drones that basically just had a new paint job and maybe a quieter propeller or something. I skipped those drones, but this drone, there was no way I could pass it up. Even if they had said this tops out at 1080p video, I still couldn't have passed it up. And the reason being is that it's so small and so lightweight, and it has a 3-axis gimbal. You know, I don't know if you remember the DJI Spark, but the DJI Spark was really small and really lightweight, but it didn't bring to the table the feature set that this has. 3-axis gimbal, 2.7K video. I mean, obviously, if the operator of this drone was not careful, this drone could greatly exceed the visual line of sight distance. So, I mean, this thing is a workhorse. Now, it does not have OcuSync, but then again, the price point doesn't say it has OcuSync. You know, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of arguments that people can make about this drone. Well, man, it needs to have OcuSync. You know, I just don't know about Wi-Fi. I agree. Wi-Fi, enhanced Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it, it's not as good as OcuSync. But what I will say is that the Wi-Fi performance, or enhanced Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it, of this, is exceptional. And it's solid. And again, remember what this drone is. It's super small, it's super lightweight. That's a selling point of this drone. You know, something super small, super lightweight, take backpacking, take somewhere where you otherwise wouldn't have the room or you wouldn't be able to accommodate the additional weight. Take this somewhere that you wouldn't take your very portable Mavic 2 Pro or Mavic 2 Zoom. You know, this drone fills a gap. It fills a void. And it's, it doesn't need OcuSync. I mean, for flying line of sight, I haven't had, let me stand back on that, let me step back from that statement. I did have one time where I briefly lost signal and started returning home. So that did happen. If this had OcuSync, maybe it wouldn't have. But that's the only time. And that was my either first or second flight. And I haven't experienced that since then. So, let's see. So, yeah, I think a pro level drone, if you're going out in size and travel weight's not an issue and you're trying to capture the absolute best video quality, obviously, DJI would not sell a Mavic 2 Pro without OcuSync. It would have to have it. I mean, that's just a professional communications mechanism that a pro-level drone should have from DJI, OcuSync or something better. But if they called it OcuSync, would you know the difference? Well, actually, I would, because since I've grown accustomed to flying drones with OcuSync, that the FPV transmission, everything is just rock solid. And if it wasn't rock solid and it said it had OcuSync, then I would question, is this really OcuSync? But for your average Joe or Jane, probably the other target audience for this drone, somebody that wants a cool drone but they don't want to spend $1,000, this is a great opportunity to gift someone a really cool drone. So there's that set of people, and they're probably not even familiar with drones, and they wouldn't probably know the difference if you said it had Wi-Fi, OcuSync, or whatever. Insert whatever term here. So Brad says, I think that drone is perfect for travelers and backpackers. Yeah, minimalist travelers, this is great. And again, the Mavic 2 Pro is perfect for travelers. When I'm going somewhere and I need to capture the absolute best video quality, Mavic 2 Pro is not too big. It's not too heavy. But this is the drone I would take when I otherwise wouldn't take a drone. And this is the drone I would take when I felt that, obviously flying in a safe and responsible location, but, I may lose it in a safe and responsible location. If I lose this, from a financial perspective, I would much rather lose this than a more expensive drone like the Mavic 2 Pro. What case do I use for traveling with the Mavic 2 Pro? I've got it linked on my website. Let me get a link here, and I'll post that. And it's actually a very minimalist design. Let me get. Now, with my Phantoms, I used to use the big waterproof and ruggedized cases because the Phantom was very big and it was very heavy. But the case that I use for my Mavic 2 Pro is this case, and I'm about to shoot y'all the link. Be just a second, I'm having to pull it over. So, and I do want to caution you, this case is not waterproof, but what you'll find on this page that I just linked, you'll also find a link to a dry bag. So basically what I do when I'm swimming to shore and stuff, and this saved me. I'd hopped off a boat and I was in this in the islands rather. And the only way to get to this particular island, there was nothing on it. It was just, a few trees and some sand and grass and that sort of stuff. But, you had to jump off the boat and swim to shore. It was about a 40 feet or so. So it was actually an interesting story, and I don't know if I've documented this on within a YouTube video yet, but I will. So during that swim to shore, I had my outer dry bag, a traditional, really thick dry bag, and I'll link that within an upcoming video so you can see what I was using. But that dry bag, and it was an important lesson learned, had shoulder straps, so it could be worn as a backpack. Well, if you're familiar with dry bags, you might know that anything that's attached to a dry bag strap-wise creates the opportunity to destroy the structural integrity of that dry bag, meaning that water can leak in where those straps meet with the dry bag. And that's exactly what happened. So, I jumped off the boat, and I had the full kit. I had my Mavic 2 Pro. I had 3 batteries for the Mavic 2 Pro, the smart controller. I had the Sony, what was it, the A7R3 at the time, with 2 G Master lenses, and then I had Osmo Action, which it was in a waterproof case. Had battery charging bank. I had probably had well over 10,000 or so US dollars worth of gear. And this is in a dry bag, swimming to shore 40 feet in salt water. So that was scary. And the dry bag did leak. But because of my paranoia, I had double dry bagged everything. So my lenses were in protective soft cases. But on those soft cases were inside of dry bags. The camera body was inside of a dry bag. So when the outer dry bag leaked around where the shoulder straps attached to it, the only thing I lost was about a $15 battery bank and a couple of USB cables that were exposed to salt water. At that point I didn't want to keep them, so I threw them out. Not in the ocean, but I threw them properly disposed of when I returned to shore. But yeah, that could have been an extremely expensive mistake. And for that reason, like I said, that's the case that I use for my Mavic 2 Pro, but I also put it in a dry bag, and I never put it in just one dry bag. I've got a big outer dry bag, and then that way, and obviously the battery bank of mine that failed was just in the outer dry bag. It didn't have its own dry bag. So, a very scary and important lesson learned. But, the good thing about that is that risk reward. Check out the videos I'm posting on my Mavic 2 Pro. I got to experience some really cool flying destinations. And in those videos, I don't even have all of them posted yet. So I've got more coming. Adam's asking about the Mavic Mini case. I'm working on that. Stay tuned for my Mavic Mini case video. Shamefully, I will admit that right now what I'm using for my Mavic Mini case is my old Mavic Air case. It's too big, but it's still small, and it's still got the the slot on the back where I can stick my Mavic Mini controller with the control sticks removed. So that's as silly as it sounds. That's the case that I'm currently using for my Mavic Mini. But I will be posting a review of a proper Mavic Mini case very soon. So stay tuned for that. When will we see a night review of the Mavic Mini? Well, that's something. Filming during civil twilight is something that I have on the to-do list for the Mavic Mini, and it'll be interesting to see how well it performs in a lower light situation. I do not expect, because this does not have a 1-inch sensor, I completely expect this to be greatly inferior to the Mavic 2 Pro, which the Mavic 2 Pro's low light performance is amazing. You get very minimal grain. It's absolutely incredible. But that's going to be an interesting test, so stay tuned. Maybe I'll even get around to that test during civil twilight this evening. We'll see how the weather pans out. So, yeah, just drones. This is going to be, back to the big selling thing. This is going to be a big seller for this year's Christmas season. And again, tell everybody and I know I shamelessly promote this, but tell everyone just to go to epicdroneshow.com. They can find all the drones, all the drone accessories there. And most importantly, if you choose to go there to shop for your drones, it helps to support my channel. I'm an independent YouTube channel, as y'all know as well, so I greatly appreciate it. Dale says, great Mavic Mini videos. Thanks so much, man. And hey, thanks for the feedback, Dale. And I know a lot of others have commented about the failures that my primary camera encountered while I was filming the Mavic Mini videos. And it's actually an embarrassing story, and I posted a video to acknowledge my failure. So my autofocus was failing. So whenever I walked out of the camera's field of view and came back in, some of my earlier Mavic Mini videos, not the Mavic Mini's camera, but the Sony A7R4 that I had on the ground, it would lose focus. So, you know, it was under warranty. I got a support claim, blah, blah, blah. I got a replacement Sony A7R4. But then after I received the replacement, I discovered, and this slipped by all of us, discovered that it's a known, it was functioning correctly. So if you have a Sony A7R4, and I think the same applicable for A7R3 and probably the A7 III and maybe other Sony Alphas, but if you have a field monitor connected to the HDMI port on the camera, it'll cause phase detection, which is part of autofocus, to fail. So when I exited the frame during those extended duration field test videos, the autofocus would fail and it wouldn't refocus upon me. And that was a pretty stupid lesson learned, because I'd already gotten with support, already gotten a free replacement camera, shipped back my defective camera, which at the time I felt 100% confident that it was defective, but it was actually just the Sony A7R4's inability to autofocus while an external field monitor is connected. So the videos that I filmed today, and you'll start to see actually my third Mavic Mini third flight field test, just a very long video that hopefully once it finishes encoding, I'll be able to publish hopefully today. But you'll see in that all the camera focus on the ground for my A7R4 spot on, because I didn't use a field monitor for it. So what I did for that video, you're going to notice it's a lot wider. I did the 16 millimeter G Master at 16 millimeter, and I linked with my smartphone to confirm that I'm in the camera's field of view, and I put like a box down at my feet, so I knew if I was standing to the right of that box that I would be somewhat perfectly framed for the face-on video segment. So yeah, that video, you won't see any autofocus issues, and it was the fact that I attached a field monitor that caused that. And Adam says, that's bad for a Sony of that value. I strongly agree. And, you know, what's also bad is that, and it is, in my opinion, the best camera on the market today, but there's a few things they need to do. They need to make a future version where you can flip that LCD on the back so you can see yourself face on video. If they did that, all problems would be solved. But if they can release a firmware update for the A7R4 that'll allow autofocus to work while an external monitor is connected to the HDMI port on the camera, that would be great. That's the whole reason I bought a field monitor. I mean, I didn't go cheap on it. I bought and you can check out, let me find it right here. I've got it on my website, the field monitor that I use. It works really well. It's a very brilliant display, but at least with the current firmware for the A7R4, it'll do that if I exit the frame. So this is the field monitor that I use, and the field monitor works great. So no, it was Adam. That was an oversight, because I was mad. I was trying to, and the reason it happened was I have not field tested a drone with the A7R4. So this is the first drone that came out since I got my A7R4. And when I'm doing drone field test videos, I want to see myself if I'm holding the drone up and that sort of stuff on the field monitor in the field, because the LCD doesn't flip forward. So that was the first time I had filmed with that camera with the field monitor in the field, where I'm coming in and out of the frame, and I didn't connect the dots. I wouldn't have connected the dots. The only reason I finally connected the dots is that after I'd already received a working replacement, somebody had mentioned, by the way, A7 III, A7, I think they may have said R3 and R4, if you're using an external monitor connected to HDMI port, that you will lose. I don't know if it's all the autofocus, but it's the phase detection. And basically, if you look at the sensor, the phase detection points, it's not the entire frame, but it's a big chunk of the frame. And the fact that I walked out of the entire frame, I think that's what made it completely lose focus. As a test, what I want to do is just kind of stay in the frame and not exit. And I think in that scenario with the field monitor, it'll probably autofocus well. but I think it's the phase detect. Once I completely exited and re-entered or bent over to pick up the drone and lean back up, that it lost focus. Yeah, Adam, that's a great question. And actually, a lot of the I didn't have the field monitor the entire time. I had the old Sony, so a lot of those field tests, I just had my iPhone paired with Wi-Fi, so I wouldn't have created the same situation where, okay, in the field, extended duration drone field test video while looking at myself on field monitor. So I wouldn't have encountered that with that. So Dale says, is a field monitor a monitor that shows the live camera output? Yes, it does. So since the Sony Alpha, let me get the Sony Alpha. This will make it easier to visualize. So here's a camera that I used to film my field test videos today. This is the A7R4, and I've got and you can find all this gear on my website, by the way. But this is the A7R4 with a 16 to 35 millimeter G Master. So if you look at this camera, you'll see the LCD on the back. LCD will pop out, as you can see there. It'll pull down. You know, you can manipulate it quite a bit, but what it won't do is pop up. That's as far up as it'll go. So when you're looking at this camera head on, you can't see, like some of the APS-C models, you don't have the ability for this LCD on the back to pop up and be visible from the front of the camera. So when I'm in the field and I'm filming a drone field test video and I'm talking to the camera, I can't tell if the camera's properly framing me unless I have a field monitor. So in the situation of my first Mavic Mini field test videos, I had the field monitor attached to the top. So when I was looking at it, I was looking at the field monitor, I could see myself and tell if I was properly framed, if I was too small in the frame, if I was too far to one side or the other, whatever. So that's what a field monitor does. And it just plugs into the side of the camera, the little HDMI port over here. So why that doesn't work, you know, it blows my mind. It's annoying to say the least. So I still love this. This is the best camera on the market right now, without a doubt. And you know, I'm not bashing this camera in any way. It's just it's a pesky nuisance. And the fact that even Sony makes a field monitor for this camera, why couldn't they, you know, with even their own field monitor, you can't do that. It's silly. So anyway, hopefully the next version of the Sony Alpha full frame, again, they've got it with some of the APS-C models, but hopefully the next full frame Alpha series will have an LCD on the back that can flip forward like some of the APS-C models. My field monitor, it's like a 5-inch. I mean, it's nothing big. It's the one that I just linked. You can check it out on my website. I mean, now to make it a little bit more complicated, that field monitor I have, they also have a field monitor that's similar size but has integrated recording capabilities. And I haven't tested this, but if you're using which I have the Shinobi, which does not have recording, but if you're using, I think it's called the Ninja Flame, it has recording. If you're recording to the field monitor, a field monitor that supports recording, in that scenario, supposedly the autofocus, phase detection, and all that should work. But if you're just using a field monitor without recording capability, meaning that you're still recording the video inside of your camera, internally recording your video, then the field monitor that's just view only will not enable you to have autofocus phase detection. So it's really complicated, something that we wouldn't have, probably a lot of people, including myself, wouldn't have known. And even Sony didn't pick up on this when I called them. You know, hey, here's what I've experienced, you know, and it's just towards, you know, the first part of the videos are fine, but, you know, when it exited the frame, it never would refocus. And, yeah, anyway, it is what it is. Adam says, maybe you could do a live session while flying. That would be a great idea with an assistant, so we can quiz you. That'd be really cool. And that's the challenge, though. See, I get to the point. This is an independent YouTube channel, and again, I mean, I'm not part of Multi-Channel Network. I don't have the marketing budget that that a lot of channels do. So, just hustling someone up to provide that service, that's that's an expense. So once I hit that point of success with a YouTube channel, hopefully after I break 100,000 subscribers and beyond, hopefully, and again, anything that you're looking for, when you're looking for cameras, camera accessories, just go to my website and check the links there, because that helps to support my channel. And and also Patreon. Patreon is another great way to choose to support the channel. But yeah, without having the budget to to hire someone per video, it's kind of, I'd like to do that, and that's definitely a goal for the near future. Once I hit that point of success with YouTube, to be able to fund having an assistant come out and and maybe even some own camera personalities. I think that would be cool as well. To have, I mean, not to get crazy with it, but just have some some variety of personalities on the channel. I think that would be super cool, just to mix things up a little bit. These are great suggestions y'all have. And, again, this drone, this Mavic Mini, we haven't even touched the surface yet. And this, as we participate in this live show right now, it's there's videos that are rendering and will be uploading. So I hope to have the next one uploaded as soon as this evening. But with that being said, everyone, we're about, let's see, where are we here? We're about 47 minutes in. Oh, Adam says, how long? Okay, Dale says, that's a great question. On a 1 to 10 scale, how would you rate the Mavic Mini against the Mavic Air? That's a tough question, because, obviously this is super lightweight, but, taking the possible advantage that this may have, and again, it could change, check with your local government. Let's just say, let's put them on a fair playing field. Let's say that this is over 250 grams, just like the Mavic Air. So if both Mavic Mini and Mavic Air, which Mavic Air definitely is, were over 250 grams, what would I rate each one on a scale of 1 to 10? So, and obviously neither of these are up to snuff with the Mavic 2 Pro. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate the Mavic Mini at a 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate the Mavic Air at a 6. And the reason the Mavic Mini gets a better rating, well, number one, plays heavily into this rating that I just came up with. The ability to recharge off the grid by way of USB-C. That's huge. I've been asking for that forever. It is smaller travel size, smaller travel weight. But again, I said I wasn't going to take size and weight into that. So just the reason this got a higher score is the USB recharging capability alone. Now, obviously, this does not have 4K video, but the 2.7K video that it does have is usable. So for me to say, if I was going to grab a Mavic Air or a Mavic Mini and hit the field in ultralight fashion, but again, I said I wasn't going to go with weight. So taking weight out of the picture, if I was going to grab Air or Mini, I would grab Mini just because I know that I can use it off the grid and not have to worry about charging in a wall jack. And yeah, that's a tough question, but that's what I think. I mean, that's my honest feedback there. And Adam says, how long has your channel been going? Let's see. Let me scroll back to date. videos here and see. I'd have to go, let's see, I have to go way back to the, oh, here we go, date. There's a date field. It looks like my first video was December of 2008. But again, when I started this channel, it was very, there wasn't a lot of content. There wasn't a lot of reason for me to create, because I started this channel to, basically just as a way to, share videos with people. It wasn't a business. When I started, it was more of a, well, this is a cool way to post a video and share with others and not have to consume my hard disk space. But, as soon as I posted a video, and let me link this video. So I had, let's see, where is it? Trying to find when I posted that video. So there's a video I posted, and Google reached out to me. Obviously, Google owns YouTube, and they reached out to me. They said, "Hey, man, would you like to become a YouTube partner?" And I'm trying to find that video as I ramble on here. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, yeah, tell me more. And, normally I wouldn't have even listened to them. But since it was Google, I said, yeah, I'm gonna listen to that. And they said, well, we found this video that whatever verbiage they use, would you like to become a YouTube partner? And at that point in time, and here's the video. I'm about to share it with y'all. I just had to find the link. So at that point in time, that's the video that I'm talking about now. So at that point in time, YouTube Partner Program was by invitation only. And I didn't know what YouTube Partner was. I wish I had discovered this opportunity sooner. But yeah, I said basically if you want to sign up, it's an opportunity for you to receive, a small amount of ad revenue. And they rattled off all the stuff, and I'm like, well, whatever, and I'm just like, what's it gonna hurt? I can trust this. This is Google. This isn't Joe or Jane's scam company or whatever. This is a legitimate company that I should be able to trust. And so I did it, and then, I'm like, oh, there's pennies, there's dollars, and common, just typical math started to pop in my head. I'm like, if I can do this from one video, what if I made this? Because at that point in time, now keep in mind, I've always been a, I guess you'd call it a hustler. I've mowed grass. I've done a lot of odd things, and I've worked for. I've also worked for Fortune 100 companies. But I've done a lot of hustling, and the hustling obviously exceeds the standard. Well, I shouldn't say standard. I would say the more cookie cutter type pursuits. So at that time, when Google approached me, my big thing was, I'm a penny stock trader. So my thing is that I could hustle and research and make a sizable amount of money trading penny stocks. And it's like it was a crapshoot, because most of the time you would lose. But when I did win with penny stocks, those wins often grossly trumped the multiple losses. So it was kind of a cool thing. And I self-educated myself and became actually very familiar with how it works. And it was a fascinating pursuit. But looking at YouTube was different, because it required time, it required creativity, it required research, it required a go-getter personality. You had to go out and make it happen, and you had to stay focused upon it. It's not just like penny stocks. It's something that if you stepped away, you're going to lose that skill set. So I said, you know what? I don't know. I know very little about cameras. I know very little about video editing. But, let's learn this. Let's take this one video that created the opportunity to become a YouTube partner. Let's take this one video and let's scale this. Okay, now, what can I film? So, that's when everything started to snowball, because it's like, well, if I can do that from one video, what if I've got thousands of videos? And how can I, so that's what's led to drones. And I'm deeply passionate about this stuff. I mean, this channel, I don't do, Dale says, great channel, matey, diverse and also totally unbiased. And again, I appreciate that. There shouldn't be any bias here, because I just say it like it is. I mean, this is my channel. People may agree with my opinions. People may disagree. But obviously, something I've always said is that it will always be a fun and enjoyable pursuit, but it'll be something that's friendly for all age groups. There's no profanity. There's no, questionable subject matter. I mean, that's something that I keep out of this channel. And obviously, anything that's posted on this channel, one should assume that anything that they post online could potentially be there for eternity. So anything that's posted, whether it's informative or silly or educational or whatever, expect that content to be out there forever, because more than likely it will be. Even if it's deleted, there's probably an archived version of it somewhere. So yeah, and again, I keep bringing this up to say that, yes, it is an opportunity, but it's one of those things you've got to know what to go after. And sometimes, like with any other pursuit, if there's subject matter that you go after and you realize, well, this took X amount of time and this was the reward, in that scenario, the return on investment was not good. Drones, for me, historically, have always been a solid return on investment, because I can go out, I can purchase a drone, I can have fun with the drone, I can share my experiences with the drone that's providing educational value, entertainment value, that sort of stuff. But I can also experience return on investment because of the ad revenue from YouTube. And that's what enables me to continue to do this. But, man cannot live from Google ads alone. And there's a famous Archibald Chesterfield III actually made that claim. And it's true. You can't, one can't live on from Google ads alone. So you got to have, other channels of monetization. And that's where the really learning a new business venture comes into play. And that's a topic for another discussion. I mean, this is just an epic drone show, but, since you asked, that's it. But yes, I mean, it's the heavy, Adam says, does it cover the cost of buying stuff to review? I would not be reviewing, if this channel did not cover cost, I would not be reviewing stuff. So, it's like most any other business, things are cyclical, because you've got heavy advertising seasons, near the holidays. You've got warm weather, you've got cold weather. You've got all sorts of factors that can come into play that impact, the potential ad revenue that someone may receive. For example, at the end of the year when a lot of companies consume most all of their advertising budget, except for like skiing and, those types of seasonal things, there's not a lot of ad spend during certain seasons. So, leading up to Christmas is always huge, because you've got, there's a lot of people that are, services, products that are being heavily advertised. And, the best way, again, to look at it, and, this is interesting. You know what I think we ought to do, and something that I want to do, and this will be better suited for IrixGuy's live show, but let me add it to my phone so I can start tracking towards this. What I want to do is put together and this is how I know what to live. I'm going to call it the live webinar. It's just a working title, but what I want to do is put together a series of live shows. It's just kind of like question and answer. And obviously, this information will all be shared for entertainment purposes only. So do your own due diligence and figure out what may or may not work. But what I want to do is put together some webinars, not on Epic Drone Show, but on IrixGuy's live show, and just kind of dig in. And in the theme being what drives, and I'll use my own channel as an example, but what drove me to create all these videos, and what drives me to continue to create videos, and just kind of go at it from that. Starting with the beginning, like we just mentioned. Google comes up and says, "Hey, your how to drink cheap on a cruise ship video. We'd like to invite you to become a YouTube partner. Makes you eligible to monetize your videos," and just kind of start from there, and then just go through all of the various steps that I performed, and answer any questions that you may have while you're watching the live show. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. I mean, you can Google most anything, and Google how to get rich quick, or how to create passive income, how to this, that, and the other. And again, this won't be like that. This is not anything salesy. This will just be hey, I'm just a dude that was approached by Google and said, "Hey man, you want to become a YouTube partner?" And let's see, Dale says, "You're the only YouTuber reviewer that takes the drone out of the box and flies it as we would if we just purchased it and arrived in our post office." Appreciate that. That's how I like to keep it real. Adam says, "Could watch all night but have to go. Bye from the UK." Adam, thanks for tuning in as always, man, and we'll get these other live shows up. But yeah, everyone, with that being said, let's definitely I'm going to sketch out just kind of let's just call it a project plan. And that project plan is going to lay out the various topics. So, live show number 1, we'll just start with the elementary stuff. And then that'll segue into live show 2, 3, 4, etc. And a lot of that will be driven by the feedback that's received during the live shows. And obviously, among the multiple live shows, you'll have the opportunity to go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/IrixGuy, and post comments, or you can also post on within the YouTube's videos comments, what you'd like to see. And I think this would be really cool, because it's I don't have anything to hide here with this channel, and it's been interesting to discover the opportunity to then educate myself on the various components, better educate myself for each various component, and then scale rapidly. So that's the cool thing. I mean, even if you don't like business, you may find this webinar that I'm going to be hosting soon to be entertaining. Even if you don't necessarily feel that you have a mind for business, because I don't want this to be something that's overly technical and dry. I want it to be there's just some dude that that started with a crappy camera, and then he got all his fancy camera gear, and he's grown to whatever size. So with that being said, this is Epic Drone Show, so I'm going to cut this loose. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and as always, stay tuned, because we're going to have a lot more live shows coming very soon. So thanks for your viewership, and let's see if we get this little outro out here to roll. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. It's viewers like you that enable my channel to continue to grow. Thank you.